fatal heart impacts, past painful scars. In fact, I blast tasteful bars and pass. I back up my actions, fact don't ask, grab reactions, jacked attack with every word, then act with class as they hear me snap. I got nothing to lose, cause I fought and felt the bruise. Now I'm not the one confused, call the shots and they produce. I ain't lost, I'm finally loose, pick a new silver excuse. I need the views to boost me to a new abuse of being used. Everybody wants a piece now, y'all can rest in peace now. You're dead to me, so peace out. Remember, you're discreet out. Get ready for defeat now.
Alrighty. Hello, everybody. This is Kirusho here. And now, whenever we last left off with this series, we had Deku and his allies within the Meta Liberation Army. In the last part, Deku took out 4 different Nomu factories with the help of Momo, Todoroki, and Denki. Overall, Deku took out 4 or 8% of overall Nomu production. Now, all for one, he almost lost a 10th of his power overnight. And he knows exactly who must have done it. This targeted attack on his turf. It must be the work of Takami. Now, that's what All For One does think. It's very annoying. He's dealing with another blonde, stupid man. And it feels like this shit doesn't get old. He's already had to deal with one. Then there's another one. And now Takami is back on the table. It just doesn't end. How many knockoffs is he going to have to fight now? And that's what All For One he does think. As we do actually have where he put a bounty out on Deku's sisters. The bounty, it either promises a lot of money or the potential for power most people probably would not be able to handle. And that was the false promise of All For One. As Deku talked to Momo and Ida, the two are heading back to the Hero Association, and Deku he did at least ask for a favor. Him giving them a few of his feathers to put as bugs into different locations. Places where there's plenty of chatter and radio talk. So, Deku, he did actually have them do that. After the bugs were planted in the association, Momo and Ida did start searching, as they were eventually able to come up with something a few weeks later. And we actually have Deku. Deku, he's been out searching and investigating a few things upon every other night. If he hears chatter about how his sisters might be in this location, he tries to head there. If they're in this location, he might head there. Deku's just been following whispers, and he's even encountered plenty of villains who do attack the said buildings Deku's sisters are housed in. Now, Deku, he's actually been very annoyed. Every time he comes to one of these places, it's either nothing, empty, or villains. Or it's already been burned to the ground. It's been a very stressful month, and Deku, he doesn't really know what to do. His sisters are constantly on the move, and if you have to put it in a certain way, there's only one real place he could think of them returning to. But it's a long shot. The house has been burned down. And, well... There was this one place they used to go to. Shit. Would they happen to be at that park? No, they wouldn't be. They're under lock and key from the association. They wouldn't allow them to go out unless they snuck out. And that's what Deku does think, as he does currently fly over the city. And he does actually go over a park where him and his sisters did used to play and hang out at when they were all younger. And Deku, he does try to reminisce on it, as there actually is a lot of fires down there. And Deku, he does still feel kind of concerned, as Deku does land and find out that this park is actually been turned into somewhat of a camp for people who have lost their homes. And a lot of people, they do actually turn their heads to look towards Deku, as Deku he does just start to walk around. Now, a lot of people they're sort of on edge, and Deku can tell that just from the air. He can already hear their whispers, and he can hear some of them start to grab weapons, as Deku does open his mouth, asking if any of them know the whereabouts of his younger sisters. Now, this would be whenever many people they do at least start to speak up, some booing Deku, and others calling Deku the reason for all of this. Now, Deku he does just look around, as he at least does start to shout. After people were berating and trying to insult him for being the cause of this, Deku he does scream at all of them that he isn't. Now, Deku he would continue on, as he does tell everybody about the day he fought against All For One. All Might he was left there on his own, and the pro heroes who were there, they're only there to save civilians, people like them. Now, all of them they're kind of not really too sure what Deku means by this. As Deku he does continue on, he talks about how he tried to fight against All For One, and people like them all sat around and stayed still. They didn't even attempt to use quirks, or even try. However, right now, Deku he's trying to find family. He's trying to use his power to protect them. And he doesn't believe that would be anything these people would understand, since he just hide behind heroes and now they can't do that anymore. As everybody they do at least start to get angry. And Deku does take flight up into the air, as he does leap up high. Now, Deku he does continue to fly around, as we actually do have where somebody, they actually are flying overhead of Deku. And they're just waiting as they do bring their wings in and go into somewhat of a swan dive. As they actually come flying downwards, we actually have Deku, who whenever he does notice something strange with the wind current, he does actually go to try and turn around. Deku, as he does spin in the air, he immediately does get smashed into by something, as the two people do go colliding downwards into the ground. And we actually have where the person is going to bring back their hand and actually go to try and slice outwards towards Deku. Deku, he immediately does go to throw his head to the left, as he does bring up his left arm, grabbing the person by their arm, as Deku does go to try and throw them over him. Now, the moment Deku does go to grab into an arm full of feathers and go to push down, we actually have where Deku, he's quite surprised. Whenever he does see, he just pinned his younger sister to the ground. What the hell? Sue? What are you doing here? Where's, well, my... Well, she's nearby. Oh, you're not Dad. Yeah, I know. Where have you two been? We just sort of... You just sort of what? You're supposed to be in a safe house, aren't you? But you're out running around in public? Do you guys have any idea what type of stupid shit you're doing right now? Says the convicted felon. That's not what we're talking about right now. You know how fucking worried I've been for you two? You're worried about us? Yes! For Christ's sakes! I've been looking for you two for the last month. My God. Ever since I heard about what happened, you two have been my top priority. I have not stopped searching for you. Okay? We need to get out of here now. If villains show up, you guys need to head to this location. Deku giving them an address and telling them that they need to find this building with this on top of it. Now, Deku he's caused a bit too much commotion, as we actually have a group of villains who do come walking up, and they were at least trying to follow Takami. since all for one he issued the bounty on his sisters. But if they do bring them this guy's head, maybe they can get a little bit of a bonus when they find his sisters too. Now, that's what some of these guys were thinking. As we actually have where Deku, he does notice the shift in the air again. Him immediately going to bring his hands up and go to grab two of his feathers. As two of them do elongate, he does tell his sisters that they actually do need to leave right now. What? But we just saw each other again, and villains are right there. Both of them at least turning to look. As we do actually have Deku, who, whenever the villains do come stepping out, they do remark on how he doesn't seem like the same kid they saw on TV years ago. Along that, they do comment on how that little mark his father gave him turned into a pretty nasty scar on his cheek. Now, Deku, he does just stare at the villains, as he does get ready. Feathers popping off of Deku's back, and immediately elongating as some do turn to swords. And Deku, he does just have them floating above him and behind him. Now, Deku, he does immediately get a step forwards, and lunge in, as you do actually have where Deku, he does slash into some villains. Now, Deku using his feathers, he does slash through some villains' armor. You know actually he does go to do spin kicks and attack certain ones. As Deku, he can be seen jumping in between and slashing and kicking at villains. As Deku's sisters, they do just watch him do that. Now, we actually have where a villain does go rushing directly and going to grab one of Deku's sisters. This period where he actually has got to bring up something in his hand and hold it directly up to his sister's throat. Deku turning and seeing the guy. As the guy is tell Deku that he just needs to freeze. Now, Deku, he actually does do that. He does just currently stand there in a stance, as he does have one feather directly in his hand. And he was actually going to throw it at the guy. If he elongates it into a sword, he can try and cover the distance at least. However, with that guy being there, it's a problem. Okay, now, Deku, he does actually have a feather pop off of his back. And you do actually where Deku does go to bring his hands up and have the feather in his sleeve directly slip back down into his jacket. As the feather popped off his back, it does follow Deku's shadow. And it does actually start to move downwards to the side and off the path where the guy can see. Now, Deku, he's focusing on it, as he does hold his hands up and asks the guy exactly, what does he want? What do I want? I want a quirk. Really? That's it? What do you mean that's it? I'm a quirkless dude. Have you seen what's going on out here? I have. I've seen it. So you understand. The power he can give me. It's got to be worth something. I can protect myself. Yes, you can. However, you're going to harm 2 teenage girls. Just to get a power? Turn them into a psychopath? You know what he did to my parents, don't you? He'll just do the same to you. What are you talking about? He'll turn you into a pawn. He will kill you. He doesn't care. You're lying. Now, Deku, he does keep the guy talking. As you do actually have with a feather, it does stab directly into the back of this guy's neck. And the guy, he immediately does go to freeze. He does let go of Deku's sister. Her quickly stepping forwards and away from the guy, she does turn and spin, kicking the guy hard in the face as he does get sent flying towards the ground. And you do actually have Deku, where he does watches his feather. After being kicked by his sister, it does get driven deeper in the guy's back, or into his neck and into his spine. Now, it would kill the guy. And Deku, he doesn't really know how to respond to that. However, you do actually have where his sisters, they do both come running up to him. And Deku, he does watch as they do go to grab onto him and hug him. Now, Deku, yeah. He knows that both of them are incredibly scared. And the Hero Association, from what he can understand, they might not be doing their best. They're probably just barely managing to get by with these two. With so much on their plates, many heroes are probably looking at a way out for themselves. It's, well, not a bad idea for them. But at the same time, the ones who may actually be considering turning these two in, they probably don't know what's on the other side of that. They probably don't realize that they were going to be played. Now, you do have Deku, who he does tell his sisters about exactly what happened here tonight and how these men, they weren't here, do they understand? As he does get to grab onto Mai, or Sue, I don't remember which one is the one with the rabbit quirk. Him grabbing onto her as he does take off flying. As Deku's sister with the wings, she actually does follow. Now, we do actually have where an hour flight later, Deku, he does land with both of his sisters in tow. Now, we do actually have where Deku, after bringing them inside the facility and basically introducing both of them to everybody, they're all kind of surprised. And Deku, he does actually somehow get a kick out of it. His sisters, they apparently, from what Deku can tell, never realized what Deku was involved in. This fact was hidden from them. And looking at these two now, it's been 3 years. They've both changed so much. There's just, 3 years of difference between him and both of them? He's 19 and both of them are almost 16. It's crazy to him. Now, we actually have where Deku, he does ask where Todoroki is. And Deku, he does head back to his room where she would be. Now, Deku, he does barge into the room, as he does look around and try and ask if Todoroki is here. To which Deku, he does actually hear something come from the bathroom. Deku turning his head as he does make his way that direction, as he does open the door and see Todoroki, as she's somewhat just sitting down on the bathtub. And she does ask Deku if he has a minute to talk. Yeah, I do. I just got back. You're never going to believe it. I have some good news. Yeah, so do I. Really? Well, let's say it at the same time. Okay? Listen, I don't really think that's a good... I just got my sisters back. Really? Yeah, they're just waiting outside. What were you gonna tell me? Um, well, maybe it could wait till later. What do you mean? Couldn't you just tell me now? Um, okay. Now, Todoroki just go to hold something up. As Deku, he does just stare so confused for a minute. Before he does focus and see a plus sign on something. Before realizing exactly what Todoroki is trying to tell him. As I do believe that is a good point to leave this part off of. And I do hope you guys enjoyed. Have an amazing day. I'll catch you guys in the next part.